Hello and welcome to Fierce. This program celebrates the diversity of LGBTIQ identities and perspectives. Fierce is produced in Bundjalung Country at 2NCR Lismore and can also be heard on podcast at fiercefm.podbean.com and in New Zealand on Fresh FM, as well as all over Australia through the Community Radio Network. This is Peter Lehner, and I want to acknowledge the traditional owners of the lands where you are listening. They took care of these lands sustainably for hundreds of thousands of years and then shared this land with us at great cost to their own lives. I want to honour and thank them for the work they have done and continue to do to care for country and to sit on the earth. I also want to thank the Faeries and crones who came before us in history to fight for our human rights, to love fiercely. Fierce. Hello and welcome to Fierce. Dawn Barrington, well known for her activism and her carefully crafted songs about the refugee situation, especially for LGBTIQ people who are sent to a country where their sexuality is illegal, and many of them are hung when they are sent there from Australia. Hi Dawn, it's exciting to talk to you.
Thank you so much for having me, Peter.
So you're doing a tour of the East Coast.
Yeah, so I'm actually in Cairns right now. It's a beautiful afternoon and I'm going to be on my way down to, now I hope I pronounced this correctly, Ballina, and I will be driving over the next couple of weeks, touring quite a few communities through the coastline there.
So if people want to find info about the tour, where can they go to see all the dates from Cairns down to Sydney, is it?
dawnbarrington.com.au. You can see the whole schedule there of all the places that I'll be playing.
And so you're living in Denmark?
That's right, WA of course. People think I'm from somewhere very exotic. Yeah, I'm based in Denmark, WA. It's a beautiful little town on the coast there, tourist town. And we have a very strong, committed group of people who are very keen to see an end to offshore detention and onshore detention. So we've been protesting every Friday for the past 88 weeks now.
Oh, what an effort. You've been over to Manus and worked there with men writing songs.
Yeah, I actually went as a musician, so I do not have any experience at all in the area of casework or with refugees. However, I have played music for a while now and I'm a touring artist, and I was appalled when I heard about what was going on there. And I felt a real need to do something, and I didn't have any skills to offer with regards to supporting emotionally or physically, or I'm not a medical professional, but I felt that music was something that might be a benefit. So I went there to play music initially, but on my first visit, I also decided to take a filmmaker, and we produced a documentary. And I took that down the Central Coast last year. This year I went again to play music and also to help a lady, Anne Moon. She's been going there twice a year for 3 years, and she's been supporting the guys throughout the whole 6 years. She's an incredible person actually, and she's done a huge amount of work because these guys have been left in limbo for 6 years. And the main problem for all of these guys, and this is about Manus and Nauru, is that they actually feel like they've been forgotten. They've been sent there by the Australian government 6 years ago. Nobody knows about it, or a lot of people don't know about it. And it's a crime. It's a crime in itself. They've been treated very poorly. They've all got really significant medical conditions. So I went there with Anne the second visit, and I went to play music and to help them with their medical records to get them to the Medivac team, which is the bill that was passed the moment we landed on Manus actually. And after a week of that, we were deported for talking to refugees.
Oh, so was that scary?
It was very scary. It was very scary. We had armed guards, very big armed guards. They were called the Mobile Squad. They were there apparently to protect the refugees, but I'm not sure how much of that is real or not. And we went on the immigration officials were incredibly, brutal in the way they talk to you and deal with you. And they've been watching us for a whole week at this hotel we stayed at, and they watched each refugee come and go, and they got their names and boat IDs. because the refugees on Manus can leave their camps from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. And the trouble is, of course, the security, the Paladin security, actually, they've got their offices right on the fence line of the hotel. So they were monitoring us. And after a week, they decided that they didn't like what they were seeing. And they took us on a crazy drive to the airport that was the most scariest ride of my life. And they took our passports off us, and we were stuck there for about 3 days before we could get back to Australia.
Oh my goodness. What's it like for LGBTIQ people over there?
It's not good because Papua New Guinea, it's actually illegal to be gay. Definitely. I don't know about, I'm sure it'd be all LGBTIQ, so it's not very good because what it means is those refugees, for example, for Iran, who if they get found out that they are gay, they actually get hung. And so there's and the reason why I say about the men is because I only know about the men on Manus, so I don't know about the women on Nauru at all, but I do know about the men. And so there's men there who have been sent, who have to flee for their lives because they were in their own country where they weren't allowed to be gay, and then they come to this country where they have to hide it still because it's against the law, and our government has sent them there.
Oh my gosh, that's the first time I've ever heard that story, Dawn. That seems horrible. When men are all locked in together like in prison, often there's sex happening, but I'm sounding like that's not happening over there at all.
In the early years, it was, I'm afraid it's a bit tragic because what happens is you've got hundreds of men from all different countries all being put into very small confines, and of course a prison was created, so the government of Australia created a prison system. So they had to wait in queues. They were beaten down. They weren't allowed to speak out about anything. They had to live in confined spaces. All of their belongings were checked regular. They had to be touched down 12 times to go to a medical appointment, through all the gates to get to each one. They were totally locked in. They were talking to, really badly, and there was a lot of racism. And so, of course, there was a lot of assaults by the guards, but also, and it was, Australian guards, and also the Papua New Guinea guards. And there were some horrific things that were happening there, especially some of the more vulnerable ones. Some of they had to go through terrible time, and I know that one man in particular had to be isolated because he was so badly assaulted by other guys. That was a very difficult time, I think, very difficult. And they didn't have internet. So I met Aziz Abdulaziz Mohammed, that he just won the Martin Eniels Award. He's down in Switzerland, and he said the most terrifying thing was that they were somewhere where no one knew anything about them. They were on an island in the middle of nowhere, and they had no idea how long that was going to go on for.
Do you have a particular story that you could share with us?
Yeah, okay. This is one of the stories I actually tell on my tour. There's a beautiful young man, well actually they're all beautiful young men, of course, because they've just got these beautiful spirits about them. One in particular, he said that I could share his story, and of course sharing their stories is not easy, because they have got problems. It's very scary for them that their family could be affected if their story is revealed. They also have fear that they're going to have their cases discriminated against if their story goes out there. And some of them haven't even told their family that they're in prison, so they don't want their family to know that. So it's quite multi-layered, and obviously this is what the government is quite comfortable with as well. But this young man, Kasim, he's from Iraq. He was a barber, or he is a barber. He was also a manager of a high-profile soccer player there. And he was in the Royal Air Force for 3 years. He was 34 years old. And he was actually kidnapped by the militia, tortured for a whole week, had 11 bones in his body broken, and he was burned. And his parents were asked for $15,000 to release him. He was thrown out of a moving car, with his eyes blindfolded. He went to hospital, and he said, I can't remember how long, whether it was a week or whether it was a month. And then he fled. He ended up on Manus Island, and he actually, after the 3 years, or 4 years, he got into Port Moresby, and he was able to work for a little while. And then he had to go back to Manus because he got sick. And I visited him at the Lorengo Hospital on Manus, and he was very thin, emancipated, very despondent. And I visited him a few times, and I just sat and chatted with him, and it was incredibly sad. You know, he showed me his shoulder where his bones had just smashed in. It was never ever looked at when he got to Christmas Island. He's never had any of his health problems seen to by IHMS or the PIH, which is then contracted by Australian government. And he just cried. And it was just the most, it was just awful. And I just sat and sang my song to him, and by the third visit he sat up and he was talking, and it was just beautiful to talk to him. Then I went back to my hotel room and wrote a song, and that's the song that I'll be playing. And I wrote it with Kasim, who is also a musician. But Kasim was, his brother was sick with kidney disease, and he asked the Australian government if he could go back and help his brother, give him a kidney, and the Australian government said no. So his brother died, and he actually wanted to kill. He set his room on fire that day on Manus. He decided, I just don't want to live anymore, and he was put in prison for trying to kill himself because it's illegal there. And through the Medivac process, I sent urgent updates to the Medivac doctors. Please, can you help this man? He's just wants to die. And he went to Port Moresby. He was in the hospital there for about 6 weeks. And now he's in Brisbane, in immigration detention there, but he's still alive. He wants to learn Australian, and his eyes have lightened up, and he's almost come back to life again.
This is what humans are doing to humans. Is there anything that listeners can do to help?
I think we need to see it for what it is, face it, because I think what makes it so hard for people is they just can't bear it. And that's the message that I really want to give when I'm doing my performances, is that I think it's time for us to we need to step outside of who we are, and we need to also find some courage. When I spoke to Aziz, I said to him, what do we do? How do we get people to respond? And he said courage. He said the most beautiful, soothing voice. And it just remained with me forever. And I thought, we actually need to find our courage to step out. And it's incredibly liberating. Like, for example, when we stand on our street corner every week with our banners, I felt so liberated. Writing letters to your local members of parliament, writing them weekly, standing out on a street corner if you can, getting yourself a book club and reading the book No Friend But the Mountain by Faerie. There's so many, if you're an artist, if you're all the creatives could all be doing something. If you're a songwriter, if you're a textile, whatever sort of artist you are, create something, because that's who we are. We are expressions of creativity on this planet. Our job is to create, basically. That's what we're here for, isn't it? And we just, I think, need to just step out and be a bit more uncomfortable. So if you've got friends who don't like talking about this, or they're opposing, they've got the anti-refugee thing going, maybe look, you can use me as the excuse. You can see, look, I heard this woman talk on the radio, talking about this stuff, and I really don't know about it, and just stretch a little bit further out in the conversations you might have with people that you know are friends, and they might not approve, because that takes courage, and that's a risk. So you've got a risk. You might lose your friendship, but at the same time you gain something because you're living your truth, and I think that's really important for all of us.
Okay, so listeners, if you want to find out more about the tour, all the way from Cairns, all the way down the coast, dawnbarrington.com. Thank you so much for coming on to Fierce.
Thank you so much. And this is the song that I've dedicated to the refugees at every gig I've done for the last 2 years. I sang to Kasim and another refugee when I went to the hospital to visit them. Fly free, little bird.
Fly free, little bird, fly free to the dreams they denied you. The dreams that you saved for a sunny day. when all the channels will open and all the past regrets will dissipate. For you are the one that left the flock, scratching at the bars and chipping away at that old rusty frame. You are the little canary that paved the way. Your light was shining brighter, 'cause you knew the way. Fly free, little bird, fly free and take off their chains that hold you down to misery. Fly gracefully, little bird, fly with majestic ease. Open your wings, let your heart sing. For you are the one that left the flock, scratching at the bars and chipping away at that old rusty frame. You are the little canary that paved the way. Your light was shining brighter, 'cause you knew the way. Your light was shining brighter, 'cause you knew the way. Fly free, little bird, from their structures that caged your beliefs of how they said life should be, how it should never be. For you are the one that left the flock, scratching at the bars and chipping away at that old rusty frame. You are the little canary that paved the way. Your light was shining brighter, 'cause you knew the way. Your light was shining brighter, 'cause you knew the way. Shining much brighter, 'cause you knew the way.
Time to get...
Queer stories are recorded at events around Australia, programmed and hosted by Maeve Marsden. There's also a book published and available at all good bookstores. And you can also subscribe to the podcast with over 70 bite-sized episodes. Follow Queer Stories on Facebook and Maeve Marsden on Twitter.
It wasn't until I was 22 that I discovered my legal name is actually out gay artist Brendan Maclean. It was the introduction to almost every article about me when I started promoting my music. It was not really taboo, nor was it of particular interest to the general public, who didn't yet know my name, but did now know I like to suck a dick or two. Choosing to come out before I had actually achieved anything lost me a few points in the media when sexuality is put forward to the community without fame or a sense that you've earned people's respect, you remain a token to be gawked at from arm's length. It was unnerving, but admittedly a handy divide between myself and other Sydney folk artists in 2009. If all else failed, I could just turn it on. Camper, gayer, louder, no one could come close, and no one was trying. I was pretty gay. Dance, musical theatre, and the fact that I'd done a 3-show tour with Savage Garden were my weapons, and I employed them at every opportunity. My songs were sweet but fairly hollow folk tracks with no real references to queerness. It was in fact me that had labelled the songs as gay, and in light of being celebrated for my sexuality, also felt my failures could only be a reflection of that too. In summary, everyone who doesn't like me is homophobic. I later found this to be only half true. At 24, I was basically able to shoot rainbows out of my butt on command, and people really seemed to like that. Suddenly, I was being booked for gay panels and spoke at gay rallies and was paid about $300 gay a week to pick funny tweets on a short-lived breakfast TV show with a racist presenter from New Zealand. Their angle for me, just be your fabulous self. The following year, I was cast in my first feature film, The Great Gatsby. Baz Luhrmann was my hero. I spent 2 months on set of what felt like a theme park. Tobey Maguire came to watch me play piano at lunch. Triple J called direct to my trailer to find out what was happening on set. I talked to anyone who would listen, and everyone was listening. The first hint that something was amiss came during my big solo scene. I was Klipspringer, playing Ain't We Got Fun on the organ as Leonardo DiCaprio and Carey Mulligan danced just below me. They called action. I sang my heart out as Baz gleefully yelled directions. I gave it everything. I sung until my voice was hoarse. But I wasn't mic'd, and the organ wasn't even plugged in. We'll get the audio later, the camera guy said. At the after party, Baz grabbed my shoulder and said, "Brendan, you were the heart of that film." Or as the New York Times put it, the character of Klipspringer has been entirely excised from Baz Luhrmann's The Great Gatsby. I flew to New York, embarrassed and ashamed, and I did my best to overdose on OxyContin. I climbed out the window 12 stories up, hoping that maybe I'd just fall asleep and roll off and never wake up. And I still hate myself for that night, not because of what I tried to do, but for telling anyone. It was the most selfish thing I've ever done. I wake up under a grand piano which had an Emmy on it. I'm on 72nd and Broadway in one of Liza Minnelli's spare apartments. I'd simply rolled back inside and vomited all over myself. I'm in pain and I refuse to leave for days before I see a friend on Grindr who agrees to take me to the cafe across the road. On arriving, I realise it's not my friend at all. He just had the same pair of white glasses. His name is Alex. He's a live-in nanny for a family up the road. He's kind, so we have the coffee, and at around 2 p.m. he walks me to his favourite stoop and hands me a hit of his one-hit pipe, and I cough, and for the first time in about a decade, I was stoned. Really stoned. We start making daily trips to the planetarium, naturally with a quick stop to the stoop beforehand. We would buy muffins and sit inside the huge dome which played a 3D documentary narrated by Liam Neeson. It's drugs, I know, but I'm laughing and I'm calm, and when I'm not stoned, I'm writing, but it sounds different now. It's pop, it's fun, it's camp, but it doesn't sound cheap, it sounds hopeful, and I'm smiling again. And I'm certain without that boy, his weed, and Liam Neeson, I wouldn't have made another song ever again. In July 2016, the album I started in New York, Fun Bang 1, comes out on iTunes in the top 5. It doesn't stay there long, but I'm proud of it. Cut forward 152 performances of a jukebox musical called Velvet, which I originally thought was about the Velvet Underground. And I'm in London, Soho, stoned and reading Hal Fisher's 1977 essay, Gay Semiotics. The essay is a droll analysis of the semiotics of San Francisco S&M gay community. His photo collection was also adorable. It was explicit but awkward. It was like a school photo, but the school was making porn. And I get an idea. Thousands of comments, a couple of hundred death threats, and a PewDiePie reaction video later, arsehole. And House of Air, the project inspired by Fisher's essay, has now been viewed over 2 million times and accepted into 5 international film festivals, not all of them just in Berlin. But most. If the backlash taught me anything, it's that while we like to project an image of a unified queer community, there are clearly some letters amongst our vast quilt bag. Think about it. And beyond, who aren't willing to fight for everybody else when things get easy for them. It reminds me that when we fight for progress, it shouldn't come with a caveat of merely tolerating certain members of our community, because who is that exactly? And who is it that you don't believe warrants the dignity that you once had to protest and beg for yourself? Now, look, I don't think I'll ever be the right type of gay for network television again. Not because I'm not generally wonderful, I mean, I am. But I can't flick on that switch anymore, and I don't really want to. And if I am fabulous in public these days, it's because that's how I feel, not because that's how I want to appear. My fabulous self is delightful, but just being myself, on the other hand, is divine.
Thank you for listening to Fierce. This program celebrates the diversity of LGBTIQ identities and perspectives. Fierce is produced in Bundjalung Country at 2NCR Lismore and can also be heard on podcast at fiercefm.podbean.com and in New Zealand on Fresh FM, as well as all over Australia through the Community Radio Network.